All right, we're back for another podcast show with me and Dustin. I have a question we're discussing today that was sent in from one of our very first paid Substack subscribers.
Woo-hoo!
Thank you very much for that. And I know this person, so I'll give a little preface, but the question was, does winning matter? And the background behind it is, from this person, I think it's a little bit of a loaded question, but reads our stuff. Here's what we talk about. So, talk about winning a whole lot. So does winning matter?
It matters. And I'll maybe answer the question with a question. If I have Team A and Team B comprised of the exact same athletes, same facility, same coaches, same whatever, and one team is below 500 and one team is fighting for a conference or national championship, can both of those players, coaches have a great experience? They can. Can both learn transferable skills? Absolutely. And dare I say, in that hard season, maybe some that are even
From the losses.
there it is. That being said, I think that winning helps every piece of team culture, transferable skills, buy-in, joy, on and on. There have been times where I've heard coaches, and maybe I've been guilty of it in years when we weren't very good, of, well, we're not winning on the court, but we're winning the class, we're winning in life. And I think that's a little bit reaction formation. And dare I say, at times I feel like I had to win something, so I win the righteous battle of somehow my 18 to 22-year-olds are just better than everyone else's, right? But I think it does matter. I'll return it to you and say this. I think the core of the question is the pursuit of winning. That matters most. How we go about the process of winning. Coach Jaderson said it to me once. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some.
That's for the questions.
Yeah. Yep. Going to quit coaching. Here's the condensed version. Call Coach Dean Jaderson for a pat on the back, sob story. And he just says, well, do a good job writing the letter to the president and the AD. Then he asks two questions. One, do your kids know you love them? And are you having any fun? And I started with the first and I said, well, winning's fun and we're not winning, so no. And he just said, come on. He said, hey, you win some, you lose some. It's the process. It's the journey of that. That's what's fun. And I just couldn't shake that. Second one was, do your kids know you love them? I said, I don't know. And he said, that's your fault. But I think kids, I think all people want to be part of a process of winning, right? Your preparation is your separation, all those things we say. I think it matters greatly. You answer it.
I think, and it gets a little sticky because this can be loser talk, but I think maximizing the team's ability matters. And I look at, let's look at you as a coach at Heston College compared to where you're at now.
Okay.
Private school at Heston, competing against community colleges.
Yep.
If you were 500, you were doing one heck of a job. That was winning there.
Agreed.
And at Friends, in your current situation, you shouldn't be 500 or whatever the equivalent is in golf. You should be better than that, just by different reasons.
Agreed.
So I think some of it is that. I think it's the process and pursuing excellence that matters. And people can all say that, but that is so freaking hard to do and not get caught up in it, especially after you've won.
Mm-hmm.
And then how do you keep doing it in a way that's process oriented and, I heard a saying one, but outcome agnostic, and how can you just be good day after day after day? Because part of winning's luck. If you have a good team, you're doing the process, regular season, I think it all averages out. But if you're defining yourself by the end of the season, there's a lot of luck that goes in winning in the postseason, from injuries to matchups to it's an outdoor sport, weather. So getting totally tied to that's really hard. And I don't know if I'm that much different as an AD. Sometimes I catch myself where I'm embarrassed sometimes how much I care when we win or lose, and have to step back and say, okay, how is the process? So does it matter? Yes. But I also, as I'm rambling, I'd say where I struggle, and I don't know the answer to this, the experiences and the growth I see the most out of people is out of the hard times. And having to deal with that, or the kids having to deal with not having the role they wanted and having to take that on. In some ways, as an educator, I think that's as valuable as winning. I don't know. There's a ramble. Give me a response.
Yeah, I think about, and we can go down this route, or if you want to go different, we can. I think about, okay, if I am a coach who's not winning right now, give me some application. Give me some things and those for me are things that we've heard, but like, how can we set example? My first couple of years of coaching, we weren't very good. I wasn't very good. When we kind of made the switch to following some guidance, it was like, what were wins that we could have in a game, small wins that, over time led to us actually winning, right? Like we're amount of turnovers in this game was going to be 12 or under, or we were going to be +5 on defensive rebound, and the list goes on. So setting things, achievable goals that we could quote win at. But again, you say the word process, and I think people want to feel people will defend what they create. I think people want to be part of the plan, and then they want organized and detailed accountability trying to pursue it. And I mean, you tell me you were just at a game where postseason loss, close. I got to believe the guys in that locker room were bummed they didn't win, but I got to also believe they felt like, hey, we had a plan. We were part of it. We tried to do everything we could to execute it. They walked out and felt a sense of accomplishment. Can you do that going 5-15? I think you can. I think it's more fun to be 15-5, but agree with that?
Yeah. And I think, so I'm going to draw this in a different direction. We've talked about from time to time the research we're doing with ICP on motivation. And we don't have we survey every team we have here, and none of their primary motivators are winning. It's the relationship piece. It's even working hard is something they state that's part of it. We defined it in the research as the joy of getting better. So yeah, I think working towards outcomes where you're getting better, I think really matters. And I think the piece to the coach, or I'll even say AD, something I worked on last summer, is what does good really look like? So Lord help us if it's just wins and losses at our level or any level. I mean, once you get to, we're not talking to the KUs or the NBA people. So we broke it down and looked at how do we evaluate based on the competitive piece, because that matters. And I think that can be winning. I think there's some process things, like the easiest thing all our programs do is weight room. So how was our attendance in there? I think there's the academic piece, the retention piece, and also the student experience piece. And how do we put that all under an umbrella to define success? And I can tell you, if a basketball team went 0-28, it's awful hard. So I think defining what those things are and working towards them, maybe that's a better definition of winning.
Yeah. I think the expectation of winning is so important, from leaders and coaches to players. I remember being in a team meeting with a very young assistant coach at my house, it was an apartment. The guys are all sitting in the living room / kitchen / dining room in the apartment. And I said, guys, let's state some goals. And so guys are stating goals, and this young, vibrant assistant, and I was young at the time too, right? But he's like, undefeated regular season. And, half the room was like, yeah. And then a couple of our sophomores who knew how difficult it was kind of looked at each other, and I said, I don't think that's a realistic goal. And I thought the room leaned in to say, Coach believes in us. And I think I followed it up to say, fellas, I think if we're prepared and we have our best stuff, we got a chance to be in every game. But as naive as that sounded, I think guys leaned in and were like, there's a reality to that young people get, that other people get. Yeah. And so I think some of that, when we talk about winning and does winning matter, it's also about like, what do you talk about all the time? I mean, if you were nonstop, what our record is and the next one, and everybody else's record in your region and conference, you are breeding that.
So I got a story. I was listening to an interview with Gino Auriemma. He's the longtime UConn women's basketball coach.
Winningest of all time now, I think, right? Yeah, I think.
I mean, one of the best coaches of all time, wins and losses. And he was talking about accountability and winning and all this kind of stuff. And the interview asked him when he was most focused on talk about winning, because he was talking about how he evolved away from that. But he said for about a 10-year period from the mid-90s to mid-2000s. And he said it was awful hard, but he changed his perspective. Of one year, a kid came up to him and says, Coach, we all came here to win a national championship. What do we need to do to get there? Quit talking about the national championship. And he just kind of said, it made him reconsider how he was doing things. Because, of course, kids were going to UConn for that. So let's go get better and figure out how to get there.
Let's do it at a different level. And this is, again, always give credit to the guys. Now, we're currently third in the country on one of the rankings, right? And I don't know if this is old. I don't know if this is new, what it is, but got all the guys in the room just after weights one day. It gave some updates on here's what we're doing and here's what spring schedule like. And oh, by the way, guys, I know you're aware of it, and we post on social media, the third ranked team in the country. And so I had the guys clap, look at each other and say, hey, let's all breathe this in for about 30 seconds and give high fives. I made it super corny and they knew I was. And then after that, I said, and my focus. My focus is how good can we be at today's practice on the putting green? And so I think coaches play a role in that to say, what's the big picture? Well, the big picture for every coach in every program, have great kids, they graduate, they do great things, and oh, by the way, you win a national, right? I mean, if you could pick it. The reality is, how can we get better at this one or two things today that promote? So I love that, but I don't, it's hard in the midst of it when you're.
I think there's a piece of going back to our 3 C's where it's competent, care, and constant. In the midst of that, it's so hard. You can't fake constant character. You can't fake consistency. And can you be that person that's process oriented as a coach? Because it's awful hard to fake and it's awful hard to do.
Yeah. No, that's really good. And yet, probably the most, I think it gives your athletes just a sense of peace and quiet of like, yeah, you know what? That's what we're going to do. We're going to focus on that. It's almost like you're the curmudgeon in the room, like, great job. Woohoo. Now let's get back to the day-to-day. I think you said it, process.
Yeah. But I also think you'll lose them if you don't acknowledge and have a little fun with it.
Without question. What's the only difference between corny and cool is if everybody doesn't. So stating that, hey, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of it. Now let's redirect the focus. Does winning matter? It's so good.
It's interesting. Well, I think the other piece of good scheduling matters too. I was good at that when I coached.
Likewise.
But anyways, we'll wrap it up there. Thanks to everybody for listening. If you're listening on Substack, please leave some comments. I'd love to hear from you. And thanks to the person that sent in the question.